if we are looking at the BGP selection criteria, weight is first. And there's a challenge with weight, and it is that it is local to the device. It is not propagated throughout your autonomous system. And you're likely going to need to influence all of your edge routers to do the same thing with your BGP policy. And if you want that, you really need local preference. The BGP local preference attribute is going to select your outbound path. Okay, so you're going to use this when you're choosing between different ISPs to get to different destinations that exist out there. You are going to advertise this inside of your autonomous system. It won't leave your autonomous system, but this has a major effect if we can pair this to weight. Weight just stays on the local router. Local preference is local to the entire autonomous system. So once you've influenced those attributes, let's say we wanted to modify routes received from ISP 1 and give them a local preference of 150. With a default of 100, that is going to be preferred, right? Now, if this were just weight, it would have only influenced CE1. But with the local preference, because this is advertised, CE2 would also steer traffic towards that ISP to get to that network we're discussing. This is a big deal. So what we'll do is we'll say I'm receiving some routes from a service provider. I'm going to bump up or maybe bump down the local preference value associated with those prefixes to affect policy. Higher is better, and we must be mindful of that balance there, because not all BGP attributes prefer higher values, but both weight and local preference work the same in that regard. Definitely remember that the default value is 100 for local preference. Let's use local preference to affect the primary and secondary ISPs. This would be very straightforward to do. Now, primary in reference to outbound path selection, because local preference doesn't impact how traffic comes into us, but it does influence how traffic leaves. So we want the top autonomous system to be our preferred ISP. And we want the bottom ISP to be there, but we don't want to use it for anything. So how are we going to set this up? Well, I could attach to all routes received from the primary pathway a local preference that is higher than the default. The default is 100. And so if I chose a value like 150, that's going to be my preferred path. That's what we're doing here. Let's walk you through it. So we see route map, set local preference, good uppercase, like that, permit 10. And then it's a really short prefix list. It's hard to get any shorter than this. Set local preference 150. But wait a minute, where's the match? There's no match condition under this sequence. So what does this do? That is going to be match any or all, doesn't matter what you say. That's going to be a match any because there is no match. So all routes will be allowed. Also double check yourself on that one. Are we filtering any routes? Because you can accidentally do that. The answer is no. And we're saying that all routes are going to get a local preference of 150. Then we attach this to 209, 165, 200.225. Now, they haven't been super explicit on that one, but I'll put that in here so we're confident we know what we're talking about. 209, 165, 200, 225. Ooh. Let's move that around. That's the top pathway, and that would be the IP address on the physical interface to ISP1A. So we are not doing anything to our neighbor between CE2 and ISP2A. So what does that mean? It means that we're going to have a local preference for those routes, we'll say LP of 100 versus the LP of 150. So what will happen is, let's say we've got some other routers in our autonomous system. All traffic going out to the internet is going to be going through our primary path. All traffic leaving our autonomous system would go through this path. So we have a lot of control here, and we can be really confident about how to read route maps and how they're going to influence our BGP policy.